At the end of this video, we are going to get a fully functional moveset, weapon-based moveset. So we have the long axe now. If we unequip the long axe, now we have the moveset of unarmed. We can still lock on, and if we hit the equip button, we will equip the helmet and the short axe and inherit or switch the animation and moveset for that weapon. So let's get started. Hello everyone, let's continue today with the refactoring of the directional animation set. So we talked about it in the last video where we discussed the limitation of the Animancer mixer transition set or transitions, where the internal dictionary where the animation clips are stored doesn't work or don't behave as what we want here when we switch animation sets or different animations when using a mixer transition component. So what we are going to do is build our own to accomplish the same task, and let's start by creating a new script here in the characters folder. I will call this one DirectionalAnimationSet, and I'm going to put an 8 at the end, so this is a 8 directional animation. Let Unity compile. After compilation, let's go give a quick review again in the Animancer component internal utilities. We have directional animations, and there is this directional animation set 8. And let's open up also in Visual Studio. So in this case, is using the Unity animation clip, but we want to change our own directional animation set to use the transition clips, because they have already this function for add fade in, fade out, and also to assign events, Animancer events I mean. So that's the reason we want to create our own instead of reusing these ones. So let's go to the character and select our directional animation set, and instead of typing all the class again, I will just copy paste it to be smart, and then I will post the script in the description below. Okay, so I have pasted the script, and of course it's similar to the Animancer directional animation set 8. Instead of having the Unity animation clip, we have the clip transitions. So for up or forward, up, right, and so on and so forth. Then we have several methods that we also copied from or borrowed from the Animancer directional animation set, but instead of returning an animation clip, we are returning a clip transition, and yeah, some borrow functions to determine the proper direction, or based on the direction we are moving the character, either from the keyboard or using the gamepad. We can return the proper transition clip or clip transition. So after making our class and let Unity compile, we need to make or update the animation set itself, the scriptable object that we build, because in here we are referencing the mixer transitions, so we need to remove those and add our own directional animation set. So let's do that now. So let's start with the dash animations. We can actually also remove this standalone clip transition dash right, dash forward, because they are not being used anymore. So we can just delete this And then here let's add a header to make the block clean, and let's call this one dash animations. And after that we can add a serialize field, not serializable, but the unity's serialize field, and let's add a reference or a variable private to our directional animation set. Make sure is the namespace the one from your project, in my case Roasted Games, and I will call this one, just to keep the same naming convention, directional and directional dash, like so. Then of course let's add a public getter, DirectionalAnimationSet 8 directional dash, that will return our directional dash reference above. So after having our directional animation set, let's compile and see what we have in the scriptable object that we created before. So let's go back to Unity, let it compile, and if we go into our data folder, and there we have animation moveset, we have the on-arm animation set. We can see that there is the dash animations, and there we have these the directional, and this is what we want. So we have here several clip transitions that we need to populate again. Okay, so what we can actually do is before deleting the mixer transitions, we can just leave them to speed up the process of assigning the animation clips. Like for example, if I were to go to the to the dash, in this case multi mixer transition dash, and I were to click the dash forward, now I'm pinging the animation clip in the project hierarchy, and it's easy for me just to copy this guy over here like so. But it's up to you. What I will do though is to remove them and make the assignment again from scratch. It will take a little bit, but it's worth the time. So let's continue. Let's go back to the script, and what we want to add, the following is the strafe animation. So let's do similarly. Let's create a header just to make things grouped, and let's call this one strafe animations walking in this case. And now that we are here, let's do the same below for the jog animations, strafe animations jogging perhaps, or strafe jog animations. And then what we can do is let's copy this section here, and let's add, copy paste here, and then let's call this one directional strafe walk, and let's remove the underscore over here, and let's now copy this block and paste it down below. And now this group needs to be called, instead of walk, jog, uppercase jog. Let's copy the name, put it over here, paste, and remove the underscore. Save the file, let Unity compile this change. And now if we go into again the scriptable object, now we have a strafe animation walking. This is our directional class that we make, the serializable class. and down below we have the jog. Okay, so what we need to do now, since we have this, is remove the old ones. So let's go back to the script and let's select the mixer transition to 2D. So we need to delete this section, mixer transition 2D, like so and like so. And because we were referencing these classes in our states, now we are going to get a bunch of exceptions like so, but no worries, we're going to fix it out. So let's save the animation set. Now that we have the animation set saved, before going back to Unity, because it will not be able to compile because we have these errors, let's add the reference or change the references in the states that are using this directional animation set. Alright, so let's click on the strafe locomotion state, and from here, since we are not using, or we're no longer using the mixer transition 2D, we need to make a little bit of changes here. So let's replace this strafe walk movement with our directional animation set 8. Let's do the same, serialize field private directional animation set 8, and let's call this one we can, if we're going to remove the, well, let's copy this guy here and let's do a strafe walk movement strafe. Let's add a prefix and let's do directional strafe walk movement. Yeah, why not? And we can copy again this block and do the same for the jog movement. So directional strafe jog movement, like so, with a J uppercase. Okay, so now that we have this one set, let's save the file and let's go scroll down. So let's copy the directional strafe walk movement and scroll down. When we have the error messages in the change animation set, let's add a couple of entries here. So the directional strafe walk movement is going to be equals to our character current, character current animation set, and in this case the current animation set is an instance of the animation set that we have here, and here we can actually call the directional strafe walk variable that we have here. So directional strafe walk, which because both are the same type. So let's now copy the jog one current animation set directional jog. No, it was directional strafe jog. There we go. So now we can safely remove these two from here. And yeah, an apology. All of this we need to do because Animancer mixer transition does not work properly when switching animations at runtime. So we need to return single transition clips for each direction. So this script is no longer complaining, but when we enter the state, we are switching the animation here, and then we are calling play current mixer. We no longer, or we are not going to have a mixer any longer. So let's delete this from here, and also this other mixer transition. Now it's complaining because we don't have those, and we don't no longer need to return a mixer transition to do here. So what we need to return is a single transition, clip transition. And in order to avoid to cast whether the transition clip we are returning is actually this type of object, what we can use is the eye transition interface from Animancer. So let's do that here and change this for eye transition. We can keep the name of the method as it is if you want. And now, if you also remember, in the update method we were passing the movement direction of the character in order to determine the direction we need to or the animation we need to play based on the direction we are sending the character with the input. So this is no longer available here. We are not longer being to use this one here. So we can just delete this section. Now we are going to, for each every tick or update, we are calling this method current mixer, also when the enter state. So what we need to do here is to track the direction we are moving the character. So let's add a raw vector 2 here, and let's call this one direction, and let's assign it to the character movement direction. Down below we are using the magnitude, so that's the reason we want to store a raw movement direction vector 2. So after we have the direction, we can replace the return of the stray jog movement that we no longer have with our directional animation set. And of course this is telling us that if the magnitude is greater than our magnitude threshold, this was to work with the gamepad, if you remember. Now we have the directional strafe movement, and inside this class we made a method called getClip that will return the transition, the clip transition, based on the direction we are going to pass here. So direction, and let's just copy this line here, put it here, and replace the directional animation set in this case, like so. Okay, so now when we enter this state, we are checking the current animation set, and we play now the proper clip from the direction we are moving the character. So that was for the strafelocomotion state. We need to do similarly in the DodgeState, which is also another state that uses directional movement. So here we already have our error message. So let's make the changes also here. Okay, so similarly, let's go up, and where we have our mixer transition 2D, let's add our directional animation set, directional dash. Let's remove this variable here so we can see where we need to make changes right away. So we have, in this case, we're actually already returning the eye transition, which is good. Then we need to modify here to return the proper transition clip from the direction, but let's do the assignment. In the update method we were changing the direction. We no longer need this guy, so we can actually also remove the update method. And here's where we are copying the animation set. So let's copy our directional dash, and do directional dash is going to be equal to our character current animation set directional dash. There we go. And we can delete this line, and finally we need to assign the on-end event. Remember, this dash animation roller or back step, they are not loop animation, and we actually need to listen when it ends to let ORK Framework stop consuming the stamina, that we have this flag here on animation end. So let's since now we have what we have is 8 clip transitions coming from this directional dash. We can no longer assign we no longer have this event Animancer events at the mixer level or the class level. We need to loop through all the animations that we actually have in this directional animation set. So let's do that. So for each, let's do a var for the time being. Let's say clip transition in our directional dash, and we have a method that is going to return the clips, like so, the array of the clips. Okay, the clips. Clip transition. Now we can loop. We are looping through all the clip transitions in this animation set, and we can then assign to each clip the on-end event. It's going to be equal to on animation ended, like so. And now we can delete this guy from here. Of course, you might want to improve this method to make sure that we actually have a clip asset assigned to the slot to avoid returning an error message here. And the last part is in the current animation, where we actually are returning the animation state for the dash movement set. So let's do similarly that we did in the strafelocomotion state. We need to track the raw direction of the character. And now there is the fun part where we need to add the animations again here in the states. So we have the dash, the directional strafe, and so on and so forth. Remember, it's important to remember that for the directional dash, this is not a loop animation, so whenever we assign our clip here, we need to make sure that also check the end time to track the event, the on-end event for each of these clips. Okay? And of course, if your animation you have set a specific time where it should end, you need to put it also here when it should be this event to be triggered, the end of the animation. So let me click on the on-arm dash forward, and we are here right now. So for the next one, which is upright, let's click forward right and assign it, and make sure we click on the end time. We have the on-arm dash right, end time, down right, which is backward right, end time, then we have down, which is backwards, back left, left, and finally forward left, like so. So we are done with the directional dash. Let's do the same for the strafe walk. In this case, we don't have directional animation sets, so we are going to, I'm going to just reuse, for example, the right animation for either of these. So strafe walk right and strafe walk right again. Here in the down we have this is the jog, my bad, walk and left. Similarly for the jog, jog forward and down, left. And left. There we go. So now that we have set our animations, those directional strafe and strafe jog, we don't need to set the end event time, so we can keep it as it is. And now we have our scriptable object configured. We can go into our animation moveset and duplicate this one because it already has some clips assigned, and duplicate them as many weapons we need to have a specific or dedicated moveset. So let's do that now. I will Ctrl D to duplicate and rename this animation moveset to the short axe. And instead of animation set, let's call this moveset. And I will do the same for the large axe. Okay. So the next step, of course, we are using the short axe moveset. I will lock this inspector here so it will not change, and now we can go into the animation that you have imported and assign the proper animation set. So I will do that behind the scenes. Okay, so once again I have mapped the on-arm animations or clips. Again, remember that the clips that need to be tracked when they end, like for example the jump, needs to have an end time checked, back step, roll, and what else? The dashes. Okay, so we need to do the same for the short axe, so just to keep track of the end time on those animations. Otherwise, Animancer will not know that they need to end and they will not transition to another state. So here I have a mistake. We don't need to track the start time for the roll. And again, all this with end time, okay? The dashes. And similarly for the large axe. So we have the jump with end time, back step, and roll checked. And not only that, but we are tracking a specific time we want to end this animation. That it totally depends of the animation you have. In my case, I want to end at 93 seconds in this case for these animations to transition properly to the idle animation later on. and this is the walk, so the dashes we can keep it the standard end time. Alrighty, so now that we have both movesets, what we need to do is go to our weapons. If you remember, we created in the ORK Framework the short axe. So let's see the prefab of that weapon. What is it? Weapons, short axe. And here we had we created a script in order to switch or track the events. Because we have it in the script, maybe it's faster if I were just to go to the weapon script here, F2 or F12, sorry, to go to the script itself, and here we are. We have a slot to assign our animation set, but of course what we are left is to add this script to the weapon itself. So let's find our weapon script. There we go. And now I lost track of the prefab, so let's do this again. There we go. And we can leave the character empty, it will be assigned at runtime, but for the weapon animation set, this is the short axe. So let's go to our movement set and assign this guy here. Let's go for the prefab of the weapon long axe, assign the script, and let's assign the large or long axe movement set or moveset. Okay, so after doing that, we are ready to test. Let's do that. Okay, so let's hit play. I'm using now the gamepad, and if we check the player game object, we can see it's actually now using the small axe animation set, which is the current animation set we have here in the slot. Right? So we can sprint and still using the axe animation set. We jump roll. And now if we were to lock on target, we have partially moveset, and you can see I'm stopping now. I'm not using the gamepad any longer, and it's not transitioning to the idle animation because we don't have an animation to transition when we have no input. So let's fix that issue currently. Let's open up our strafelocomotion state, and we were checking whether to use the jog animation or the walk animations. In the walk animation, we need to actually also check whether the direction is 0. So let's do a if statement. So if direction, come on, equals vector 2.0, then in this case we want to return the character current animation set idle animation. So let's save the script, let's go back to Unity, let it compile, and let's hit play. Okay, once again, let me go to the game object to track the changes here. And if I target the lock or target the enemy, now we have the walk animation, the strafe walk animation like before, jogging, always target lock on the target. If I press the B button in the gamepad, now I do the strafe, sorry, the dash backwards. So now let's test swapping weapons, right? Like removing the axe, for example, or switching to the long axe. So we can do that since we have already our machine schematic that we use to troubleshoot or debug. Let's do that. So let's click on our schematics folder. We have the equipment schematics and we had this Unequip test schematic. So let's open up. And we were only on equipping the helmets slot. So what we can do is copy this node. Let's link it together, and from here we can switch instead of and also to unequip whatever we had in the weapon slot. So we unequip it, but we keep it in our inventory. So let's save the schematic, and since we are here, what we can also do is to go to the combatants, select our player combatant. Let's go to the inventory and equipment and scroll down, and here we are assigning as a start equipment the short axe. So let's switch to the long axe in this case. Save the settings and just let's make sure that we have a long axe created before and with the prefab. Similarly, we can test now, so we are supposed to enter play mode with the long axe. We can unequip it, sorry, but we can also change the equipment test schematic. So let's double click on that one. And besides the helmet, we can also add the short axe. So let me remove this console, we don't need it anymore. What is the delete? Remove node. And let's copy this guy. Let's assign it and do like so. So we add to the inventory our short axe. So we add one, we can keep the chance to 100 of course, and then we were checking if we already had if the helmet exists in our inventory, so we can keep that validation, and then we change the equipment to equip the helmet in the helmet slot. So let's add similarly, so copy the node, and then we change, in this case, in the equipment slot we select the weapon slot, and in this slot we are going to equip the short axe. And of course it's coming from inventory. I think here we also should say from inventory. Okay, so let's save our schematic and let's give it a try. Okay, so before starting the game, let's make a quick change here in the save load game test script that we made before, and instead of using the P key, because every time we use the Ctrl P to start or stop play mode, it will save the game. So let's just change this one to, let's say, N to save, and let's select M to load, like so. Okay, so this is okay. Let's hit play. And now we have the axe large moveset. I'm using the gamepad, and all the animations are coming from this moveset. Now we have the strafe when locked on. So now if I were to hit the U key to unequip, and now we see that the current animation set is the on arm, and we are playing the on arm clips. Similar if we lock on, and if now we click the E key to equip the helmet and the short axe, now we can see that everything transition back to the proper animation set. We lock, and we're still using the short axe moveset. So mission accomplished. And what I want to cover on the next video is to fix up the way we are handling the dash animation, because if I play the dash, is not so responsive. You see, it's like it plays once, then it goes to the idle, then it needs to be played again or click again. And the reason for that, let me get the cursor back, is because we are using these flags also mapped to the ORK framework, and that makes the whole feeling of this animation not responsive as it should be. So we are going to make a little bit of changes there. We are going to create a custom machine node to tell Animancer to transition to a new state from the machine object itself. Because if you remember, those animations that changes statuses are triggered by the ability from ORK Framework. So we need to actually, let me stop play mode 1 second and open up the editor and go to the status abilities. And for example, we have the backstep ability, and in the battle animation we are calling this dodge ability schematic. So what we are going to do actually is to, from this schematic, tell Animancer to switch the state. Instead of let's open up, instead of using game variables and switching variables, that is having this problem with the responsiveness of the animation. Okay, so let me close the editor, and the last test we want to do here is to make sure that our save game and load game is still working, and you can see it was working out of the box without any changes from our side. ORK Framework will do it for us. So we have the long axe, right? Let me move over here. Let's click the N key to save the game. Let us unequip everything, or perhaps equip now the short and the helmet. Let's move over here and press the M key to load the game, and there we go. So we have the long axe equipped from the same game, save game. And we can do also again, do the equip, save the game, move over here, unequip everything, press the M key to load the game, and we are with the helmet and the short axe. So the save low game still works as expected. I hope you liked this video, and if you do, please subscribe and click the bell notification to get notified when I upload a new video. And thank you for supporting the channel. Bye bye.